Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Connections with Cass podcast. My name is Cass, and I am your host. In this podcast, we talk about all things spirituality and healing. And in today's episode, I'm super excited to be talking about something that really impacts us every single day. We're going to be talking about how to navigate the duality of our existence, but not in terms of the lightness and the darkness within, like we typically do, but actually in our day to day life, the little things where we experience a lot of darkness or things that are very different from our light within. I say different from our light within because each of us are operating and have belief systems and morals and opinions and ideas based on two things. One is inherently a part of us, but mostly it is conditioned into us. And that's how you can have 7 billion people in this world. And, a billion of those people follow a certain religion. And it's not because they feel, I might get in trouble here. It's not because they were born feeling that religion within them. They might have felt God within them or the universe with them or whatever it is, but they didn't wake up as a 2-year-old and say, most of the time, I want to meet the Pope if they're Catholic, right? Or if they're Jewish, I don't believe in the Pope. That is something that is taught to us. And then as adults, we may resonate with it, we may not resonate with it. And the amount that we resonate with it typically isn't even in regards to our own light within. It's in regards to, again, what we've been taught, what makes us feel safe, what fills the holes within us that we seek external things to fill within us. I believe that we all have a very personal connection with God or the universe, and that is our light within. And the constructs of religion and spirituality are simply a facet of the human experience in order to provide us some structure and tangible ways to connect with that light within, because this world gets very dark and very confusing. And the human mind loves to put things in order and connect with things in that way. But that being said, when we're looking at religion and different belief systems and morals and things like that, it's just really important to note that we all came into these places and these beliefs from somewhere. I recently stumbled upon a speech that was made at the Harvard graduation. I think it was a commencement speech. And the graduate that was giving the speech, I mean, it was probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard, if not the best, especially at this point in time in the way that our society is rooting against each other, I'll say. So I just stumbled upon it and I started listening, and he really made some great points that I'm going to summarize as to how to navigate, how to understand and hold space for people with other values and morals and belief systems. So he started his speech by saying that he comes from a family where his grandparents all have different religions. One's Christian, one's Jewish, and one's Muslim. And then his mother was raised Jewish, and then she converted to Christianity, or vice versa, because she fell in love with his dad that then was a different religion. And he said, if my family acted the way that I'm summarizing here, but if my family acted the way that our society acts, and most of us act, where if you say you align with this political figure or this religion or this belief system, and it's an immediate, I hate you, defensive, I need to win this argument energy. He said, I wouldn't have a family. I wouldn't have holidays with my family. I wouldn't have love from the family that I do have. And then he brought up that his grandfathers were able to come together and understand each other because they had both been in different wars, and they saw how humans could be pushed to do extreme things that we can't fathom because we've never been pushed to do them. I thought that was really profound because we sit here in our little bubbles and we have our difficult times. And for all of us, that's going to be a different experience, right? There's varying levels of hardship. There's varying levels of trauma. There's varying levels of everything in this life. But for the most part, right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you have a cell phone, you have a home, most likely. I hope you do anyway. And if you don't, my heart goes out to you and I send you love and light to achieve that soon. But you are living a life of convenience, and there's one person in your life that loves you, I would assume. And so we sit here, and because we have all those kind of basic necessities, if you look at the hierarchy of needs from a psychological perspective, when we have our basic needs met, well, then our mind starts to wander a little bit more than it normally would to other things that we can judge or perceive as inadequate. And to recognize that if we didn't have these conveniences or these cushions beneath us, what would we do if our kids were starving, right? What would we do if there wasn't any heat and everyone was freezing, but your neighbor had heat? What would you do to save your children? And when you're in awareness of the extremes that humans can go to and do have to go to at some level, you can understand how somebody has a different belief system than you. You don't know what somebody has been through. You don't know how they were taught. And yet, immediately, because your belief system or your morals are different than theirs, you completely condemn them. And in this speech, he talks about how there doesn't have to be forgiveness for somebody else's belief systems that are completely different than yours, or belief systems that you condemn as immoral, but there does have to be understanding. He uses this word very frequently in his speech. There does have to be understanding, and this is what really resonated with me. He even mentions that you don't have to give them grace, but you do have to have understanding. And to be curious is how we achieve understanding, rather than just condemn them for being quote unquote who they are and having these horrible belief systems or morals. How did they get there? Why did they get there? How could other people get there? And with that understanding, you can just have an open place in your heart to hold space for the fact that every single person is on a different path here. And it's not our responsibility to teach anyone anything different, but it is our responsibility to shine our light bright. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again and again and again. We cannot shine our light bright until we stop judging and we stop hating. So the speech really brought me back to other conversations we've had on these topics in this podcast and on the TikTok lives, that coming into a place of understanding and not even empathy, but just understanding that everybody is on their own journey, that is when we can come into a level of peace within that shifts our energetic vibration into a higher frequency, and then that changes the world. We'll never be able to change the world when we have hate in our heart for other people. And that's really tough to understand as a human being. But when we hate how a certain political figure hates other people, we are only contributing to that darkness and that hate. We're amplifying that energetic frequency on this earth rather than transmuting it. The way to transmute it is to pray and send love and light to that person that has so much hate in their heart, that's a public figure that is sharing that with the world. It's to do something kind for your neighbor, even when they have a different political opinion than you. It's to stay and listen to somebody on social media, even though they have a different opinion than you. Can you stay and listen and not be activated to the point of rage inside of you and just experience it for it being their experience? There are bad people or bad things that people do on both sides. When we look at politics or religion, for example, we can sit here and say, let's just use a really charged topic like immigration or abortion. On both sides of the party, there are people that are saying their opinion for the right reasons. I truly believe that. There are people, I'm going to use the example of abortion. There are people on the right that are very religious, and they've been taught and deeply feel and deeply resonate as adults that life is life. And there are tons of people that I feel in their heart, they really, really align to that belief. And it is a pure intention that they have behind that belief. And on the other side, on the left, there are plenty of people that feel deeply in their heart that it should be a woman's choice. And their intention is so pure with that. And on both sides, there are people that just want to be right, that haven't even let the ideology or the issue at hand sink into their heart. They have just been taught something and they need to be in control, and they're going to push forward an agenda because that's what they were taught to do, which isn't as pure of an intention, but it happens on both sides. People have different personal stories regarding that issue. Some people have shifted into more of a conservative perspective because they've gone through an abortion and they regret it, or they have had a bad experience with it. On the other side of that, perhaps someone out there didn't have access to an abortion and they feel very passionately the other way. And in that situation, when two people have had two different experiences with the same issue, personally for me, my heart is open to both of them. It's pure intention. And if either one of them came to me for, let's say, one-on-one coaching because they're struggling with what happened, my heart would be open to helping both of them. So, through this conversation, I'd like for you to reflect on how much of an open heart you can have for people that have differing opinions and not needing to know their situation necessarily. Well, if I knew that that's why, then I could have an open heart. Why? Why do you have to know? Why can't you just have an open heart? And again, it's not to say that you have to change your belief system or even agree with them. You just have to understand that that is where they are at and decide for yourself if they have a pure intention too. But again, even if somebody came to me and I can tell their intention is not pure, I can also tell that they're reacting or holding this belief system or pushing this agenda because they have been taught, conditioned, and programmed and been through traumas that have led them into this emotional state that is determining how they are showing up in their life. And I hold space for that. I have an open heart for that, that we're all going through different stuff. And on both sides of the political party and every single religion, then there are the people that do really bad things. There's fraud, there's abuse, there's all of these things that happen. And so when we start to immediately react from a place of hate and negativity towards a group of people, we're doing a huge disservice to the impact that we can have on changing this world for the better. I want you to imagine a Jewish person and a Catholic person meeting for the first time. They really like each other, they're on a first date, but religion is really important to them. And they need to meet a partner that has the same religion as them, but they really like each other. They're having a great first date. They're out for dinner at an Italian restaurant. They're having the best time. And then the topic of religion comes up. And they both say how important it is for them to be able to practice their faith with their partner. If one of them, let's say the Catholic person, starts condemning Judaism, saying every single reason why they hate it, what does that do to that interaction? And how far does that push that other person away? Now, if that Catholic person sits there and says, I just really love my faith because X, Y, and Z, this is how I practice it. And as they're talking, their light is shining through, their eyes sparkle, their heart opens, and you can just tell they truly love it. What does that do for that partnership? And what does that do for the world? Does the other person walk away thinking, gosh, religion is dividing us all. I just have to stick with my people? Or does their heart open up a little bit to, wow, maybe this could work? Or maybe there are even aspects of Catholicism that I didn't realize that are really beautiful. The more that we push hate onto other people, the more resistance there is for them to come towards us or for any sort of higher vibrational energy to happen. Throughout history, there has been atrocities that have happened in the world, from the Holocaust to slavery to all of these things. And those things have had lasting consequences on how our society functions. And while we do live in a democratic and free society, the things that we have control over are limited. And so we spend a lot of time trying to understand or gain control over why things have gotten so bad for certain groups of people. And we find faults in the other human beings that are also just in the same game, that have been put in these places and put in these different situations that they didn't ask to be put in. And again, it's not to forgive anybody that has committed an atrocity or done something bad, but it's to have understanding that everybody's at different places and everybody's moving through life, not because they chose to be there, but because they were placed there. And when we look at everything from a higher perspective or a greater perspective, when you look down on this earth and somebody that is super wealthy and has privilege and all of these things, why are we condemning them? Did they choose that? When we hate them and when we resent them and when we resist even hearing their side of the story because they are so privileged and entitled and disgusting, again, what does that do for the energetic vibration of that partnership and the world? It's time that we have understanding. Like the Harvard graduate said, it's not easy. It takes a lot of emotional regulation. It takes a lot of deconditioning and deprogramming from what you've been taught. I've been through it myself. I used to be extremely liberal. I had a blog, and every conversation that I had would turn into, you think that way? That is so disgusting. Here's why you should think my way. And I got in a lot of arguments and I got in some trouble in my earlier years for the things that I said regarding politics and how passionate I was for the topics that I believed in and that I wanted people to understand. But through these past couple of years of seeing things from a little bit of a different perspective, I'm really not political at all. And I really do see both sides. And that's why I'm able to do a soul reading for somebody that is a liberal or somebody that is a conservative or somebody that is Jewish or Catholic or Christian or all of the things. There's no difference to me. Whether you've been privileged or not, I understand that you've been through stuff. Everybody's been through stuff that's led you to where you are today. And the neighbor that has the Trump side in their yard that I would have probably gone and stole and burned a couple of years ago, I kind of look at it and I say, huh, I wonder what they're like. I wonder what their belief systems really are. And what I found when I did get curious and I did have these conversations from an open heart and a peaceful heart, the people that voted differently or the people that I would have normally condemned for their belief systems actually have some good points. And it's not to say they're going to change my perspective, but there are some good points out there. The more I've gone on this path, I've realized that there is black and white in this world, but there is also gray. And the gray is the part that we hate to sit in. And as humans, we need our minds to be in alignment with our external reality. And what we miss is that our heart is always in alignment with our external reality without us having to control or do anything. So when we can drop into our heart and have love for the experience that we're in, and have love for everybody having their own experiences, and sit in that gray space with love in our hearts, that's when change can actually happen. When we're in the black and white and we're in the mind, it can't happen. And I believe that when we are sitting in that black and white place and we are condemning and hating, we are only contributing negatively to the ascension of this earth. This ended up being a totally different podcast episode than I originally planned, but this is going to segue really well into next week's episode, which I'll leave you on a cliffhanger with. But I hope that this conversation gave you a new perspective. I highly encourage you to listen to the Harvard commencement speech by the graduate, not by the comedian. And let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you guys next week.